So I see that, Pastor K, and I know that in this generation, I mean, they're not in the
Yeah.
60s, they're not, so they have a different frame of mind.
Yes.
The Bible says that spare the rod and spoil the child.
Exactly.
I get that those that are going to come in and comment about no, but spanking is not, and Pastor K is saying this is my, but this is what I feel like. Yes, there were families that they took the spanking to another level,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
I also believe that this generation also don't even understand what it means to discipline.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
it used to be that way. Now I also feel like, and correct me because again you've seen a span longer than I've seen.
Mhm.
I've also feel like parents have lost the priorities in life. I feel like some of us are not even around to see what is going
Yeah.
on to direct, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
looking at that span of your, because in this, maybe for when you had your children and you were raising your children, it was not out of the norm to see all six children become successful in however we
Mhm.
define success.
Mhm.
But in my generation, it's very rare. Like you see families, we're struggling
Yeah.
with two, let alone six. In terms of disciplining your own children, what were some things that you put in place? Do you feel like it's the generation made it easier, or do you feel like it's the principles of discipline that we have kind of fallen asleep a little bit on?
Both. Both.
Mm,
I think it's both because when we try to discipline our children now, if you discipline your children now in the way I discipline my children, or parents discipline the children in our era, you'll have all the cops, as I said, cops
mm,
on you,
mm-hmm,
and you'll be put disciplined in, you'll be put in jail or whatever.
mm-hmm.
You can't spank your child anymore nowadays.
Correct.
I mean, that's what I figure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't. And I think spanking, not to the point of death,
Right.
but spanking for discipline, I think is a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But again, it depends on the child.
Yeah.
I mean, I spank some of my children because they deserved it.
Mm-hmm.
But some didn't even deserve, you just tell them to stop and they would stop.
Right. Right.
So it's different. It depends on the child, depends also on the maturity of the child,
Yeah.
but also depends on the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go overboard
Mm-hmm.
because some parents do go overboard, and
Yes.
that is not right.
Right.
That I will say no, put them to jail.
Yeah. So, Pastor K, this is when it comes to discipline again. I'm learning from different parents from different
Mm-hmm.
generations, and I feel like the difference between the spanking that goes overboard, like you said, into abuse
Mm-hmm.
versus the spanking that becomes a discipline is the emotion of the parent at the time of correction.
Sometimes yes,
Yeah.
sometimes it goes there too. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like, let's go for fast forward to my children. Um, my children different discipline their children in different ways.
Mm,
Like my oldest son and my daughter, different kind of discipline. But their children are all professionals now.
mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
grew up. See, I think it's sometimes you have to look at the mentality also of the child, not
Correct.
just the parent.
Correct.
Is this child uh, like me? I don't like, well, I was not never very seldom spanked. Um, but yeah, you have to look at the child, um, at the character of the child too,
Yes.
and what the child can handle.
Yes.
If the child doesn't like to be shouted at,
Yes.
because there are children who just uh, don't want to be shouted at.
Yes.
It depends on the child. You
Yes.
can't. There's no one formula for the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
You have to weigh
Mm-hmm.
each child.
Mm-hmm.
Like take for example, my oldest son. He has a girl and a boy. He cannot discipline them the same way because it's a different mentalities,
Yeah.
different characterization, different mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
so there is no one formula.
Yeah.
You as a parent have to know your child.
Mm-hmm.
and know how to discipline them,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know.
Beautiful. Now I'm going to shift gears a little bit. I mean, you and I are from different generations, right?
Mhm.
I'm easily your child, easily, and I
Yeah.
am your child.
Yes.
Yeah, I am your child. When it comes to legacy, and I know a little bit about your family background, your children, they're all professionals, they have children that are professionals. When we hear the word legacy, oftentimes we think about financial means. And one of the reasons why I wanted to sit down with you and do this episode, particularly in the month of my birthday, is the word legacy. I feel
Mhm.
like you've become a legacy for me to emulate. When you hear the word legacy, what comes to mind?
Well, I looked at the definition of legacy. It's well, it says it's a long-lasting impact of
Mm,
particular events, actions that took place in the past in a person's life, and I agree with that legacy. But for me, legacy is not just about money, not about material things.
mm,
My legacy to my children really is my life story. You
beautiful.
know, I leave that with them, and for one thing, they do not need material things. Okay, if it
They're
comes to my
blessed
children,
that
they're
way.
blessed that way
Yes.
because of the hard work that they have put in
Yes.
into making things right for themselves and their families. Okay, they have more than enough. But the life experiences that I have, the the how I was able to overcome a lot of things, numerous pitfalls, mistakes in my life, and I had to come at some crossroads, and how I handle those crossroads. That's the legacy that I'm leaving to my
Mm,
children.
mm,
You know, if they read it and take it to heart, not my children, more my grandchildren,
mm,
because my children now are at the age where they've made a life for themselves. They've gone through all the ups and downs, and where they are right now,
mhm,
which I'm very proud of my children, by the way,
mm.
and my grandchildren
Yes.
too. You know, even my grandchildren, they're all professionals. I'm just thinking, yeah, they're all professional except one. He's still in high school.
Mhm,
He's a senior in high school right now.
mm,
The second to the youngest is even in the military. He is a
mhm,
Marine.
mhm.
And he did that all by himself. And I'm so proud of that. I mean, nobody coerced him. Nobody told him, join the Marines.
Yeah.
No, he did it on his own. He said, I want to be. And he chose the most difficult part of the armed forces. I mean, he's a Marine and he's doing well. But now I don't know, um, Nova, my great grandchild, has to, well, she has a good um, parent. I mean, she has a good lineage,
Mhm,
to
mhm.
look up to.
Yeah.
And that's the legacy that
Yeah.
we leave her.
As women of God, what are some ways we can intentionally cultivate and encounter purposeful living beyond the retirement age? Because you're living that life purposefully beyond retirement age. What are some ways that we can cultivate?
I would say cultivate a life of purpose.
Mm,
You have to have a purpose. If you don't have a purpose, it's just one day after another.
mm,
I'm just going to say it this way. When I hit 80 years old, I said to myself, now what, Kay?
mm,
You've reached 80. But then my children gave me a party on my 80th birthday. And I looked around and I looked at all the friends that came to celebrate me. And I just thank God for getting to where I was. And then at that point, I asked Him, where do I go from here?
mm,
I still was working, obviously, still working until now. But where do I really go from here? And if you really ask God and you're sincere in asking and wanting to get an answer, God will give you the answer.
Mm, mm,
God will lead your path. I mean, you have to stay focused. That is the one thing. What stay focused, whatever you're doing, whatever, uh, how do I say this? I know where I'm going.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And that's why I keep on going.
Mm,
And always ask God to give me the strength to do what I'm doing. The prison ministry, like you say, shift gears. Prison ministry is something that God has given me, uh, and I like what I'm doing.
mm,
Not only like what I'm doing, but I have that purpose to share the message to inmates
mm,
because they're just a lot of them are just lost
mm,
and angry,
mm,
and having that purpose, I would call it a higher calling, which is, I don't know if you call it higher calling, to bring them some kind of peace, and know that they're not forgotten, that they're loved.
mm,
To me, that's just purpose.
yeah,
That's what I like to do,
mm,
what I will keep on doing until God says, stop.
mm.
You've done what you have done, and that's enough. And I guess that keeps me going. You
I
know,
love it. Find purpose no matter
Mhm.
what age.
No matter what
So
age.
you don't have to have a number that at
No.
65, at 67, I'm retired.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's it. I'm going to have purpose. And when you say that, Pastor K, the person that comes to mind is Caleb. And
Yes.
recently I was reading the story of Caleb again,
Mm-hmm.
and I was very intrigued that at 40, he was sent as a spy.
Mm-hmm.
He came back with Joshua, the Bible says in the book of Joshua,
Yes.
with a good report.
Mm-hmm.
But then fast forward when, after many years, when God had given them all the land,
Mm-hmm.
at that point, 40 years later, Caleb
Yeah.
is 80 years
80.
old.
Yeah.
And I've always known that. But then there was something that maybe a week or two ago I was reading that really took me to another level. Is when Caleb goes to Joshua and says, the promise that God gave me 40 years ago, I'm
Mm-hmm.
80. Most of us know that he said, I'm 80, I'm equally strong.
Right.
But what was so amazing to me, he said, give me my land and let me cultivate it. And I love that even at 80, you're talking about purpose.
Yes.
This man, in my
Had a
personal
purpose.
opinion,
Yeah.
it was the purposeful living ahead of
Mm-hmm.
him that, in my personal opinion, the Bible doesn't say it, that made him not just get to 80, but because he had purpose that I'm not just going to receive a bare land for my
Mm-hmm.
descendants, I'm going to cultivate it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it brings us back to that phrase of legacy. That legacy is not necessarily just the material things
No.
that you leave,
Mm-hmm.
but the story that you live. And so when Pastor K came in, we were talking before we turned on the cameras. We were talking about this bio right here, this
Mm-hmm.
autobiography. And I was saying how you have to leave the story for
Yeah.
Nova so that Nova can pass it on to her
Yes.
children's children.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know you enough to know that you have certain routines. What are some of your routines at age 84
Uh,
that you can share with us on a day-to-day
yes,
basis?
I do have a routine. Every morning, when well, I pray, and that's routine. Pray, read the Bible, and we're talking about physical. Okay,
Yes.
every morning I either depends on if I can get out of the house or I just stay in the house. If I'm just in the house, I just walk in the house for with my worship music. Always with my worship music. I walk like half an hour.
Mm,
Okay. If I can get out the house, my place where I go to walk, because my children, well, especially kid who I live with my daughter, She doesn't like me walking out in the street
Yeah.
because that's how I used to do it. I would walk around the neighborhood for an hour.
Hmm. For
So
an hour, you said. For an hour.
1 hour, one
One
hour, yes,
hour.
1 hour, 1 hour, one
Yeah.
hour. I would walk around the neighborhood for an hour. And then I had to change gears because of my age. If I fall or something happens, nobody's there.
Yeah.
So now I started walking in the mall
Mm.
because the malls, there are some malls that are open early for walkers.
Yeah.
So I would walk in the mall, say hi to everybody around. Well, that's how walkers do.
Yeah.
We say hi to each other, good morning. We don't know their names, but we know their faces.
Yes.
So I walk in the mall for an hour or at home for half an hour, and then I come back home, and then I go into my weights, sit-ups,
Did you say weights?
yeah,
Your
weights.
weights at 84
Yeah,
weights.
not that much
It's
weights.
still weights.
Yeah, sit-ups, push-ups, and then crunches and all that stuff, which will take me about another half an hour, and then I'm done.
Mm.
But if I didn't have this, I
Mm.
wouldn't be like I am now.
Mhm. Mm.
That has given me, well, really strength,
Mm. Mhm.
to be able to get up every morning and do come to work and and do whatever I have to do. You know.
Amazing. I met you in your 70s or maybe early, like right around 70 for sure.
Hmm.
And after I met you, you went back to school to
Oh
get your
yes.
master's. Tell us, what will make a woman after retirement age go back and get her master's?
Let me say you something. My last boss before I moved, before I left the secular field, and he was my friend until he died,
Mm.
a good friend. He said something to me. He said, "I never see you retiring." He said,
Mm.
and he was right. He knew me well enough to be able to say that to me. Yeah, and what was your question again?
What made you go back
Oh, what made me go back?
after 70 to get your master's?
I I don't know.
Mm.
I think it was God that said. I think it was leading of the Holy Spirit that said
Mm.
to go back and do my master's.
Mm.
Speaking about masters, and I don't know if I mentioned this to you, because my son had called me a few days ago, and he said, I said, "Okay, what's up? I haven't heard from you for a while." And I'm like, "We just talked a few days ago." I said, "Yeah, ma, that's a few days ago." He always checks on me. So anyway, I and he said to me, "Mom," he said, "why didn't you write another book?" And I said, "No, because I do have a book that I haven't published. I've
Mm.
already finished it and everything."
Mm.
And then that got me thinking. I like studying,
Mhm.
okay, and that's why I got my master's in divinity.
Mhm.
Because first of all, if I'm going to work in a church setting, I need to know more,
Mm.
not just the spiritual, but also how to, you know, the rudiments of um, masters in divinity,
Mm.
where you go into. I love the course because it opened up my eyes to different aspects of um, not just living a spiritual life, but knowing more
Mm.
about the 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 Bible and people who wrote the Bible,
Mhm.
and also lives of other authors,
Yeah. Yeah.
who are writing books and living Christian lives.
Mm.
Some people think that Christianity is all about praying. It's not, you
Mm.
know. It's living a life again of purpose. What is your purpose in life?
Mm.
You know, it's not just going to work, coming home, going to work. No, why? Why do you do it?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I think taking a course, this is just me again. Maybe other people have another reason for taking the master's, maybe to get a degree. It was, to me, it was like an eye opener, you know.
Mm.
It's like, wow, all these people, people who wrote books, you know, and academic books too, they were they were not young.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
up there in age too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they decided to do this,
Yeah.
you know, for other people to learn.
Mm.
And actually, I don't know if I mentioned this to you. I have written, actually, prison ministry to me is a calling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a calling,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to pass this on to whoever takes over.
Mm.
I mean, I know there are a lot of prison ministries out there, but this is a prison ministry that was birthed in me by God Himself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I knew when I started this that this is what God called me to do,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't know until I got into it. And then I've been one of the toughest prisons in the United States is San Quentin.
Mm.
And I love to go to San Quentin. For some reason, that prison, the guys there, they were lifers there, you know.
Mm.
Everybody, you know what lifer is, right? Life prison,
The
in
people that
prison,
are there in life prison.
for life. And there's even um, death row in San Quentin, but we never, we couldn't get into death row. We were not at that level
Mm-hmm.
where we could get in there. But I love those guys there because they love God,
Mm.
you know. And that was a purpose for them to
Mm-hmm.
come to service
Mm-hmm.
and hear more and worship and all that. And because of that, I had written a book, not a book really, a curriculum,
Mm.
a syllabus for in prison ministry.
Mm.
And when my son asked me that, that's when I remembered, it's just sitting at home. I said, maybe I should do something about this. So I don't know what I can do about it, but I'll pray about it and see where God directs me to do this. He said it's a total 12-week course.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Now you all know why I have her here in this chair. But okay, we've talked a lot. And
Yes.
and for me, it's all about purposeful living. If there's
Mhm.
anything that I'm taking out of this conversation, is purposeful living. Our audience have listened to your story. They've seen your tenacity. At this age, you're still looking at what else can I do? I'm not thinking about retirement or being put in a nursing
No.
home. No, that's not you. What if you have to give us any words of encouragement before we walk out of the set to us and our audience? What would those words be?
Okay. One thing is know who you are,
Mm.
not what others think about you or perceive you to be. You have to know who you are.
Mm.
Second is that don't try to change the world or force your principles on others.
Mm. I love
You
that.
know, lead and live by example.
Mm.
And when people see you, they'll know who you are.
Yeah.
You just have to be there. They'll know.
Mm.
And then lastly, I have think it's just being true to who you are and not try to be someone else in your own body, in your own skin. You know, Pastor always talks about don't be jealous of
Mm.
others. And that's exactly what this is. Know who you are,
Mm.
you know,
Mm.
and not try to emulate other people. Well, you know, use them as an example,
Model, a
yes,
role
a
model.
role model,
Mm.
but be who you are,
Mm.
you know. That's my advice. I never tried to be anybody. It's hard enough to be me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's harder to try to be like somebody else. Yeah, of course you have your models, but
Well,
that's how I try to be me.
beautiful. There's something that, and I'm going to put you on the spot here. There's something that I've heard people say a lot. If you have to go back to your younger self, what would you tell your younger self? But I've also come to coin my own thing where I not just talk to my younger self, I talk to my older self as well. If there's anything, you can pick any stage of your life. If there's any advice that you would give to the high schooler K, the college, the married woman, the mother K, what would it be? That's the first one. The second one is, what advice would you give to your future self, your next year self? So, two
Oh,
questions
my
in
next
one.
self.
Your younger self and your older
Okay,
self.
my younger self. Um, I think, as I said before, I was very shy. I was an introvert when I was in high school and in grade school and high school. I would say I should have been a little more outgoing,
Mm,
not like a turtle in a shell.
mm,
And there's always this fear. Fear creeps you,
mm,
you know. It holds you back from any kind of advancement, and I know that for
mm,
sure
mm,
because I feared, and so don't fear. You know who you are. That's one thing that I always say. I know who I am.
mhm,
Know who you are in any stage of your life. You should know who you are. Yeah, you have models. You try to emulate them, but don't be them.
mm. Don't be them.
Yes, try to be. Like you, Pastor Annette. I look at you and I say, "Wow, she's a great person," and I'd listen to you, and the advice you give people, and you're a very strong woman. Okay, and I see, how people, other ladies especially, try to emulate you. You know, yes, emulate her, but don't be her.
Self, yes.
Be yourself.
Mhm,
You can emulate people, other people, because you hold them in higher esteem, but be yourself. Don't be them.
mhm,
You know.
mhm,
And going forward, as I said, I just ask God for guidance because I don't know where I'm going. I'm here.
mhm.
You know, and I'm not this person who fakes it. You know, I'm me. I'm me. Like I always say, you got me, and that's me.
I love it. And that's what makes me love you, Pastor K. It's like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man. A lot of people think I'm very strict, which is true because it's the way I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the way I discipline my children. But I also am a fun-loving person,
Yeah.
and you can ask the prison ministry team. They're the ones who know who I am really
Yes.
behind the scenes, because we spend a lot of time together,
Mm-hmm.
especially when we're traveling. We travel. Sometimes we're gone a whole week,
Yeah.
and so we're together all the time. And I'm going to just give this one little funny thing how they know me. We had, I think it was in Texas. Yeah, it was in Texas. We had another person, not from CRC, come with us. She was a friend from the past. And I wanted her with us because she wanted to experience prison ministry. And she also spoke Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we were going to Texas. So a lot of prisoners there spoke Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And the morning after we got there, everybody goes to breakfast, and then She said, "Where?" This is Chris. Pastor Chris was the one who was telling me about this. She said, "Where is Kay? Why is she not for breakfast here for breakfast?" And I said, "Kay doesn't eat breakfast, but there's coffee. Kay doesn't drink coffee. Well, there's tea. No, Kay drinks tea. I mean tea with cream." And, and she looked at them and she said, "How do you know her so well? We've been with her for always." They knew my every move. It was just so funny. We just cracked up laughing. Everything that she said, they knew what I
Mm-hmm.
wanted, which was not the norm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's how close I love my team. This
Mm-hmm.
team is really, I can't say enough about the prison ministry team. Not just the people who go out and the traveling team, but also the praying team, because there are two factions. Those that who cannot travel and stay behind, but they pray for us,
Mm-hmm.
and those who are able to travel.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a very close knit group, and I thank God, really thank God for the members of this team, and that's why it's a chosen few. Everyone that's in this team have been vetted by pastor. You cannot just join the team just because you have to be able to join the team and do the work.
Yeah.
And I thank God for each and every member of the team. If you guys are listening, I love you all.
Amazing, Pastor K. Thank you so, so, so much for taking the time to sit and do this episode
Oh, it's
with
it's
me.
really
I'm very honored.
I'm honored.